No good. We like. Oh.
Double check.
Sound. Graham always has an says it's good. Actually, I think he's part of the Secret Service, and he's on a special detail
my game
to protect me, but they're not allowed to tell me.
Yes.
But yeah, someone very important, valuable. Yeah.
But there's nobody would.
Probably not. It is quite organic. Bit by bit. And there's still updates. So, but everything's done on the cheap. Well, we're live. Oh, Josie here, who
Father James Budden is a great.
out to
It takes a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds for it to catch up with itself, so as I can try and get the sound right.
Okay.
So I mean, so we'll speak, and then in 10 seconds' time, it'll come through on the system.
Okay, so am I showing up? Am I quite loud? Oh, am I even switched on? Yeah, it helps if you switch them on, doesn't it?
Little light on.
Yeah, there's a little light on it. There's a little light on this one.
Might be hiding a little light.
Oh, that one's working.
Are you switched on, James?
I am now switched on.
You did have a little light, but it might be just hiding.
It should be okay.
I've just turned the noise gate off on this one because it's a bit difficult to.
Okay. Yeah, so I ought to keep talking, oughtn't I? So you can tell it's working okay. Is it coming up nice and
Yeah,
loud?
it seems to be all right.
Brilliant. Yeah, well, so we've got Josie here, who, which means no one will be leaving any comments. And this is, we're back to portraits again. It's going to be an interesting one, this one. I've got a very bright light from the left, and it's at quite an oblique angle. So it's more like an accent light. So although on the camera there, what you can see, there's just a sort of a halo of light around 1/4 of the face, and the rest of it appears to be in quite dark shadow. Actually, I can work with the colours in the shadows and just have that accent light, almost like a yeah, there won't be much details in the highlights. There won't be much difference between them.
Yeah, but you've sometimes said it doesn't look like it's looking on the camera or something. Then you show us it at the end, and it's not usually that different, is it? It's quite faithful.
Yeah.
It shows up pretty well.
Guess what a camera can't do is look into the shadows and see colours and subtleties, whereas our eyes can adjust to where we're looking. Even if it's in close proximity to something reasonably bright, maybe not a light source, which anyone who's had the sun in their eyes when they're driving knows that anyone who's in the shade is in immediate danger. But yeah, I'm just going to get going on this. And how are you, Graham?
Yeah, you carry on.
Graham's in his corner, like a gnome. He's been fighting the technology.
So, keep it kind of
Sometimes
playing
if
a
I
bit.
can't watch it on the Facebook, I nip across to YouTube.
Oh, I
or
recommend
vice
watching on
versa.
YouTube. It's much better on YouTube.
Yeah, but I can't always get in. I put James Budden YouTube or YouTube James Budden or James Budden Art YouTube or YouTube James Budden Art, and it comes up with all the older ones.
Well, you go to my channel. So if you click on any of them and directly underneath the video that's playing, whatever one it is, there's my name, and you click on that, and it will take you to my channel, and then you go to the live bit.
Oh.
But yeah, I don't know how that works really. So
I'll have to try that then.
yeah, so you can get in.
But sometimes if you dodge from one to the other, then there's a bit of a lag on the one is behind the other,
Okay.
which is always a bit intriguing.
Yeah.
So
Now this is interesting. I think this is going to be more of a how to place you. That's going to be interesting, but maybe I'll make it more of a face study than anything else. So you're definitely very conscious about being looked at right now.
well, I'm thinking now. I'm looking at the jug, and I'm thinking, there's quite a lot of things to look at in your studio.
Right. But there's an effort to remain still.
Yeah.
And all this kind of
otherwise
stuff.
I make lots of funny faces.
I know, but
I
this.
don't want to do that.
But I have to wait for this to wear off.
Yeah.
So now you're chatting and you're animating,
Yes, I know, but
and that's much more
I
interesting.
don't want to make.
Right? No, that's
dark
not your
faces,
problem.
like, ooh,
Well,
something.
the thing is, you won't be able to hold one for long enough for it to make it to the canvas.
That's true. That's true.
But what we,
You want natural.
if
rather
you
than
start
fake.
holding still, I
That's
just have to wait for you to stop holding still.
Yes, and be normal.
So actually, now you've done your bit, Graham.
Yeah, and now I've lost the cat. Where is he?
Has he wandered off? He does wander off
My
from time
friend.
to
Oh.
time. Do you want to have this seat?
I will do, yes. I'm just going to make sure it's all...
Okay, thanks.
Tickety-boo.
Right. So
That's perfect, yeah. That's cool.
brilliant. So
Your
yeah,
mum,
I'm going
Mum
to
did
get.
both of these chairs, didn't she?
Okay.
Did
Huh?
your mum upholster both?
No,
of
no,
these
that
chairs?
one. No, not that one. This
Did
one she
that-
did. Yeah.
Pretty one. Yeah.
Yeah, so the seams are breaking in places, but. So I feel like we ought to be doing some kind of interview thing.
I don't mind. Whatever. I haven't got exciting things to tell you.
You've got plenty of exciting things to tell us, I'm sure. Sorry, just jump in and launch on you there. Let's start easy. How was your day? What have you been up to?
Very good. I spent my day trying to take out little plants into the greenhouse, because like those ones, only different zinnias and things like that. And then finding that it was windy and they were all going to break, so having to go and get little stake things for them to tie them up, but you won't because you're in a sheltered place. So solving that, and then because we found out we'd sold that Dad's house, so that was good news after such a long time, and so it's been quite a weird day really.
Excellent. Well, we've got to love the weird days.
Oh, that was today you found out that the house is
Yes,
sold.
yeah, which is great. So that's good. So yeah, quite a good day. But I just can't believe it's nearly midsummer.
Brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although I did look today, sorry to put a downer on everything, but the next 2 weeks is going to rain.
Hey!
Yeah, that's what it looks like, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really annoying because
Yes.
I've just got used to this.
Yes, I know.
I prefer it when the weather matches my mood.
Yeah, I'm quite glad it's going to be a bit of rain for gardens, but otherwise, yeah.
Do you live nearby then? Whereabouts?
Taunton.
You're in Taunton?
Yeah.
Oh wow, it's quite generous for you to
Otherwise,
come
you
over
see,
then.
I'd come. That's why I'm not coming across to the classes.
I
anymore
see,
at the moment,
okay.
'cause it's just that bit, up and out of Taunton, then you've got long 303, and then so it's best half an hour really.
Yeah. And then obviously
Which is
once-
actually fine, but it's just become busier and a bit more hassle. I find it a bit more hassle now. So.
Well, the 303 is not exactly the easiest road to travel along at the best of times at this time of year as well.
No. So yeah. So but I do live classes in Taunton.
So when did you start painting?
About 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what made you pick up the brush?
Do you know, I don't know. Oh yeah, I do. A friend told me to go to, there was a class on oil painting in Ilminster and I should come along. And so I thought, what? Because I was drawing and things like that a little bit. And she said, no, it's great fun. Come and do oils, And so I bought little cheap set of oils, whether or not and it was brilliant because they taught you like James has like a colour wheel or does lessons on the colour wheel, and the teacher called Belinda taught us what colours were opposite what, and I realised then there's a system. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. And you're a big fan of systems, though.
I think it makes it easier, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
I think there is this idea that
That you have to just know.
the artists just have this magical knowledge that's sort of like rains down on them from the heavens, and they've got the magic skill, and everyone has to
But
sort
it was
of.
amazing. Do it. You must do it. You've seen so much of what James is doing that you've got to do something.
Yeah, I do sort of like threaten most weeks and say
Yeah.
I need to.
But I explained to him he wouldn't be able to.
That's not really
No, I know.
That's not-
Welcome to my Monday.
That's not what I say at all.
But she had us copying master works first, sort of almost like paint by numbers first of all. But it was actually great fun because you ended up with a painting that looked quite good because you copied exactly what Mon had done or whatever, and that was great fun. And then it got a bit harder because she had all these white objects that all looked exactly the same,
Oh,
and then told us, like I don't know, just a sheet or a piece of canvas or whatever, and we had to work out the subtle differences and do it with white and black paint. And she wasn't satisfied until we spent ages going really bonkers and getting quite bored with it. But it was really quite instructive, actually.
if you do the Charles Cecil thing in Florence, then actually any of those sort of very traditional approaches,
And they had to do that.
you're not allowed to use colour for about a year and a half.
Bloody hell. This was just a week.
Right. The thing is, mastery of the tonal values is absolutely key. And I always bang on about it, but I also don't stop people from just having fun using colour, playing, doing what they want. But if tone does the work, colour gets the glory. That's what they say. And it's true.
Really nice word, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. Because we respond to colour in an emotional way. It's sort of built into our biology, in a sense. But the unconscious seeing part of our brain, the part that collects all this information and turns it into an image of the world, we're not in charge of that. We don't do that. Something else in our brain does it. We are the vehicle that carries that bit around, just like we're a vehicle that carries around the enzymes that digest sugar. But we're not going, I've had an apple, I've just got to really concentrate on digesting this sugar.
Yes.
Something does it for you, and you don't get to get involved.
Yes, yeah.
You don't get to go, I think I'll use a different chirality of, of enzyme this time. It's not up to you. And it's the same with seeing, and that part of seeing is mostly done with tonal values and edges.
I bet he'd make you do that if you had less than that. He'd make you stay with black and white.
Yeah. The thing is, it's really hard, and it's a bit miserable, but it's training.
It's hard work, isn't it?
And it's like getting someone to put bricks in a backpack and run up hills. You're training a
Well,
fitness.
it's the foundation part, isn't it?
Yeah, and once you can do it, once you
Just like
can
tables or something.
once you can look at an image and really understand which bits are what tonal values and how they relate together, that's done for you.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at something that works, almost certainly that ability is in there somewhere. You don't have to even get it right
Rather
first
than
time.
work out how to equate that darkness to in red or in blue or something.
Ah, well, that's a whole separate
That's the
issue.
whole thing.
But that comes afterwards.
Well, maybe we should do one of the Mondays of lots of white objects.
Oh, I
And
have.
then you're only allowed
Switching
to.
off.
Yeah, then you're only allowed to use white and black.
Yeah.
Make him do it. Make him
Oh, yeah.
suffer.
Oh, that's fair enough.
Yeah, nice.
That'd be quite interesting.
A tonal one. Yeah.
So you say it was the paintbrushes that you picked up about 10 years ago, but that you were drawing before that. Has art
I
always been
went
something?
no, not at all. No, I never did art even at primary school. I didn't. I was kicked out of the art room when I was about 10 for knocking paint over or something. So that because of being slightly clumsy. So that's yeah. So I never did it. I don't remember doing art ever, and I never even thought about it. I was music. I loved music.
Mhm.
That was my thing forever.
So do you play instruments as well then?
I used to play quite a lot. I don't suppose I do that much now. But yeah, no, I did, and but then I don't know what happened. Then I went along to that thing with my friend and thought, oh, that would be really fun. And then so that's what I did. Yeah. No, my hands get a bit stiff now. It's very funny.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. But,
It's part of the creative brain still, though, isn't it? I guess it's the.
I don't know. I think everybody's creative and everything.
Yeah,
You say that, don't you?
yeah. Well, there's a lot to be said for just.
We must be Homo sapiens creative and
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
really. Whether that creativity is doing something like figuring out how those things over there work, with knobs and buttons and working electronics, or because what do you do now? You're not factoring. Oh, coffee.
Yeah, I'm at the
See
coffee
what?
shop.
How creative is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bit different.
Hardly at
Yeah.
all.
Getting that sort of out to people and getting people aware of those yummy. Don't have a branch in Canton. We've got nice coffee shops, but just they're more of the usual ones. So
Truth be told, Josie, I won't be there for much longer, to be honest. So, yeah.
what?
I'm moving on. I've been with the business for over 10 years, and so I wanted to have a bit of a change. So my last day will be in the middle of July.
I can't believe it. So is somebody going to take over?
So Alex is taking over my position in there, and then another person that was below him is stepping up into what's
So
going to be
it
Alex's
will-
role. So yeah, it's allowing people to grow and
That's
go
nice.
into the role,
Yeah.
which is really cool and nice. And yeah,
Are you
hopefully-
having a complete sort of time out, go travelling thing, or have you got another thing in your sights?
I'm talking with a few people at the moment about different things, but there's nothing set in stone yet. I've
Painting apprenticeship.
potentially, yeah, James's dog
Yeah.
body from.
Well, I
Yes, he wants one, he
I
said.
do genuinely, yeah.
But yeah, I'm taking about a month and a half off, so the rest of July and August I'm not going to work, and then so see where the land lies in September.
So will you aim to stay around here?
I live in Sherborne anyway, so
Yeah.
I'm at the
But you're
very top
not
of Jeep
aiming
Street, and I'll
to-
stay here.
Whiz off somewhere else?
No.
Oh, that's good. So
Yeah, I'll still be here on
It's
the
right front
Mondays,
and
and
centre.
I love Sherborne. Sherborne's a great place to
yeah,
live.
it is. It's lovely, isn't it? It's beautiful.
Mm.
Oh, that's really nice.
So then what got you into playing piano?
Well, oh no, I do know this, the answer to this, because when I was a child, my father was trying to get all of us actually to have piano lessons and to practice, and of course I wouldn't practice, and I was completely horrible and just refused to practice, didn't want to, and so I didn't carry on. I didn't do it beyond age 6 or 7 or so. I just wouldn't practice. But I always, as I grew up, I always wanted to, because I love piano music, I always wanted to learn how to do it. So I think I was pregnant with Charlie, our first one, and decided, and I couldn't really do much else. Well, I was still working there, but I thought, well, I won't do. I'll have this as my project. And so I started from scratch then, in my 30s, and I know it's a bit kind of like, daft, but I thought I'll go up all the grades that the kids do. And so I did.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, so I did that, and I did them all, and I absolutely loved it. But then my teaching job was got quite busy a bit later on, so I kind of, having got to my goal, I did still play, but I sort of didn't keep doing it quite so much because I was really busy at work, teaching, and
So
it was a school where we would have involvements in the evening and the weekends as well. So I was just sort of at school doing stuff.
So were you self-taught with the piano then?
No, because we were in Germany when I started, because we were in the army.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in Dortmund. We were in Dortmund, and then another place, Rheindalen. No, we were in Rheindalen when I started, and found this lovely. Hello, if you're listening, Peter Jakob, a German teacher, German, I've seen him for 30, 40 years or whatever, I don't know.
He probably is watching.
But he
now.
might be.
Yeah.
Anyway, and he had a beard, like big, tall, kind of like hippie guy, a German piano teacher, and somebody in a shop in the town we were living gave me his name, or Peter Jakob, go and try Peter Jakob, and gave us this phone number, so we tracked him down, and so I went once a week while we were on that 3-year tour in Dortmund, and had lessons. But I didn't speak German at the time, so
Brilliant.
so it was
Oh,
quite
amazing.
funny really, because he didn't speak any English. So it was really good fun. So I learnt kind of like my German like that as well, and so and he was an amazing teacher. He taught his music a bit. He was sort of said things a bit like the way James teaches. You know, he'd make me do something, and then it would be all wrong, and I'd have to listen. Not that James says that, but he'd come at the approach to learning the piano in a kind of completely a way you wouldn't have thought to think of it, sort of. And he made you listen all the time. He'd say, "No, you're not listening to what you're." And I'd say, pressing down one note. He'd say, "You're not listening to yourself. You're not listening. You're not listening to the bit when the note happens. You're not listening." But then eventually I got what he was on about, and it was really, really great. Even though I was only doing like blah blah blah. But didn't matter. Then I practiced literally all the time, because then I couldn't do anything much at the time, and Bruce was off doing stuff because he was busy in his job, and I found a piano and rented this piano that we found. He came and helped me find a piano, this chap, and it was good. It was great fun. Yeah. And then I carried on from there. So I carried on everywhere we went. I found a teacher, and some were more fun than others, and just kept going really. I did my scales, so that until people were sick to death of hearing. I was really much better at those than I was at tunings. I could do opposite directions, C minor, the harmonic-y one, and the I was
The harmonic-y one.
You know, I was brilliant at those. But actually, my piece of Brahms that I was supposed to be playing was quite so hot. So.
Did the piano stay with you in the different places that you went, or did you have to sort of sell that when you were moving? And
I don't think we kept it when we were in our Germany posties. Then we came back and we were in Dover, and then had a lovely piano tuner who said, I said, look out for one for me. And he found one. He said, I think I found you a piano. So we went off somewhere in Kent and to this place, and it was a lovely piano, and I've still got it.
oh, fantastic!
Yeah, so it has travelled round, and I just hope it wasn't hurt in travelling. I mean, the successive tuners I've had haven't said, well, shame you shook this about in a 4-tonner or something. It seems to be all right.
So you've moved around quite a lot then?
We, not as much as I suppose lots of people, but anyway, in the army, but yeah, we did 3 tours in Germany, and only Germany and Aldershot and Dover. They were exotic, you know, like somewhere. But yeah, good places.
And do you ever go back to Germany these days?
No, because France is my love,
Right.
so we go to France quite often because that was my job, teaching French. So yeah, so we go to Brittany, but we didn't. We've been once since lockdown, I think, but we haven't been. We didn't go last year.
It's misnamed, isn't it? Because it's not very Brittany at all. It's much more Francy.
It is. It is. It's actually Cornwally.
That's normally my line.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm using up all the terrible jokes, so keep them safe from Graham.
Yeah. So that's that.
So did you, with your French teaching, were you brought up in France and?
No, I just did French at school. That was the only thing I could do. Like, you know, I couldn't do maths. I couldn't do anything else. But I could do languages.
Oh wow.
I couldn't. I just be hopeless at maths and the sciences. I don't know why, but I never found a problem with languages, particularly French. I think that I must have been French in a past life.
In a past life, yeah, maybe.
No, but I think we must have been. I think my father said or somebody in our family traced it back, that we came over with the Huguenots, which, if I could remember when that quite was, that our family came over and went to Scotland,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's probably very rubbish, isn't it, that you
Oh,
inherit
no, not at all.
skills.
Not at all.
Oh.
They've got to come from somewhere, haven't they? So,
Yeah, I was talking to someone at the weekend whose daughter works in genetics and is quite interested in this idea of sort of inherited, not inherited memory exactly, but the idea that previous generations shape the makeup of the generations afterwards, like an immediate effect. There's evolution, which is one thing, which takes millions of years, incremental small changes. But if one generation's been through a war, the next generation has somehow changed.
Is that interesting?
Well, it's an idea. It's an interesting idea. I wouldn't accept it as, truth, but I think there's a basis for it. Certainly in terms of our limited understanding of these things. So I wonder if there's, who knows how much we're sort of shaped by this stuff.
But you've got artists in your lineage.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it seems fairly obvious that growing up around something makes it look possible.
Yeah.
And wouldn't, that was a thing you could do. So it wasn't like, I didn't feel like I had some particular sort of gift at it because I think if my family had been engineers, I'd have been an experimental creative engineer.
Would have been a Leonardo.
Or, there's a bit of that already. I still think of myself as an inventor. I mean, I'm not saying no one's like Leonardo da Vinci, but there is a way of, I understand the way he was interested in everything.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
That like you just want to take the world apart and figure out what's going on, and fail and then try again and then,
Wasn't it funny how he didn't finish things?
Yeah, I know he was.
wasn't it that he figured out how it worked and then was just like, oh, I'm fine with it now?
Yeah. Oh no, completely. I totally get that.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't.
Yeah.
Once it wasn't interesting, he was basically obviously ADHD to an extreme.
And he wasn't a completer finisher.
Yeah. Once it wasn't interesting anymore, it just disappeared out of his consciousness.
Yeah.
No longer featured.
Because whatever you do has got to. Is that what happened with coffee? Have you got lost interest or?
No, I haven't lost interest in it. I just feel that particularly with that place, I've taken it to as far as I can go, and it's actually time for the business to get a bit of a shake-up from somebody with new blood coming in and doing their thing.
Yes.
It's like I've taken it to this level.
Yes.
Right now, it's your turn to go with it.
Yeah. And that kind of does two things really, for you and for it really. It's quite sort of altruistic in a way. So
And also for the people that are coming up and giving them the ability to
they get the
shine.
chance to, yes, exactly.
Because
And
I'm a
who
firm
knows?
believer in giving people responsibility to be able to grow and be creative and do what
Yes.
they want to do within the confines of what your obviously like the overall goal is. But go run with it and see what you can come out with. And if it works, brilliant. If it doesn't, well then let's sit down and discuss why it didn't, and we'll learn from it.
Yeah.
Something we have talked about a bit as well, and I don't know. I think I felt like I was overstepping a bit to begin with, because I think you bought into this idea that obviously you've got some enthusiasm about coffee and that kind of thing, and the service industry sort of thing. But with Graham, I think it could just as well have been something else. It's about the interaction with people and the building something. And that pretending to be really enthusiastic about coffee, I never really bought into that at all for a second.
But I had a really interesting chat with a friend the other day, in almost sort of, if I could do literally anything, where would I go? What would I do? And a big thing that I do hold really close to my heart is the people in the service industry are not appreciated.
True.
As much as they should be.
I know.
And I would love to create a method, a school, I don't know how it would be structured to teach the service industry skills, but also to make people see that it's a skilled job rather than it's just get behind the bar and push a button.
Yes.
And that these people that come to the school or the academy or whatever it may be are then looked at sort of favourably when it comes to these sort of positions in hospitality sectors. And I'm not talking silver service. I'm not talking being a key grader of coffee tasting or a wine sommelier.
But you're talking about what happens.
Yeah, just general skills and how important it is to have such a good experience as a customer.
Yes.
In whichever venue you go to.
Because I think France does that quite well, actually.
Mm.
I always appreciate it if there's a good coffee shop.
But if you had a mediocre coffee but the best service that you've ever had in your life, you would go back there.
You would.
And then
yes, you would.
For me, part of that academy, looking future-wise, part of that academy would then also be to lift the level of service that the people have got, so that then you've got the best of both worlds, and you create this group of people who are
but then
great
they'll
at
be
what
proud of what they do,
Exactly.
and then when they hold themselves kind of with pride, like the French waiters and that, people do, they do. I think they sometimes click their fingers a bit.
There's got to be a cultural change
and
as
the
well.
waiter doesn't mind that, but here I don't think that would go down too well, really.
But I think that's where a cultural shift has to come into play as well, to say that people that are in the service industry need that level of respect as well. Because you see it all the time that we get on a pretty much daily basis, the rudeness of people. And it's not so much in people like having a go, but it's more I'll have this still be on their phone doing what they need to be doing or anything. And there's not just taking 20 seconds out of your day to have a human conversation and interaction with people.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you very much. Rant over.
But I mean, it would be really good, wouldn't it?
Can
I
I
just
take?
think that there's academies and there's schools for nearly everything else, except for the one thing that every country has a massive amount of people involved with, which is the hospitality industry. And there's, like I say, there's the silver service level that you can get to, but not just good service.
No, I think that's really interesting, and it will be interesting to compare all the European countries and all countries and see how it's done and see what the perceptions are of people on receiving end and all the rest of it, isn't it? How you do that, I don't know. Just ask people who've been there, I suppose.
I'm very keen on the sort of social aspect of having a venue such as we've got here or in any walk of life. I think it's all about connection. The social connection that you get between people is, I think, so important. And COVID proved that to a certain extent, where we didn't have the interaction. I mean, James, you slightly excluded from that one because you had the best time of your life, didn't you?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, I quite enjoyed it too. I enjoyed the fact that our main road was really quiet, and the local cats could just go and have a sleep in the middle of it like they always used to. And
are you a cat lady? Oh, amazing.
We've lost our cat Sage, unfortunately, we haven't got another cat because of the road has now got so busy. So where we're living at the moment, it's not possible. Although the neighbours have got cats, and they seem to have learnt.
You can just feed them and then they'll come around to your house.
They come round to our house all the time anyway. I don't feed them because I wouldn't encroach upon, but...
I would definitely feed my neighbour's cats. Wouldn't. You can't really own a cat, can you? As far as I'm concerned, it's a fair competition to who can gain the most favour from the cat by buying it the nicest food. And that's where the cat will live, isn't it? Let's face it.
We've only got one animal at the moment, and that's a hedgehog who lives under the shed.
Oh, that's so cute.
And you have to get up really early or go to bed really late to see him or her. I think it's a her, actually.
There's a hedgehog that lives in, well, probably quite a few, but there's one that I keep seeing at Paget Gardens. And one day he was actually outside the police station. I thought he was going to frisk me, to be quite honest, but I've got nothing on me, I promise.
Gendering animals is a tricky one, isn't it? Especially with something like a hedgehog. Like, well, because the other talking about languages, and we probably get onto language sometime. What gender is a hedgehog in French?
Un hérisson.
Hérisson.
Un hérisson.
Un hérisson. So it's male.
But if it's the lady one, they'd probably say un hérisson. Une hérisson? I don't know.
Well, no, because the
Un hérisson dame. I don't know.
Well, okay.
They wouldn't worry.
Well, you know,
Madame le hérisson. No, that
Okay.
would work, would it? She said, I haven't seen any little ones though.
I think it means you can call all hedgehogs he, is my point.
Oui. Definitively.
You said you wanted to get onto language as a subject matter. Do you have questions?
Well, Josie
I'm just wondering if
taught.
James has read the À la recherche du temps perdu yet.
I have not. Well, actually, no. I have started it. I have started it. But I have this funny approach to books.
Yes.
Because before I read a book, I like to just have it and look through bits of it
Oh yeah.
and just sort of wander in it from different directions.
That's bizarre, isn't it? Or perhaps not.
I don't like starting at the front and going through.
Oh, I can't even look one page ahead.
So if I go to a town
Yeah.
that I've never been to before, and there's a tour and there's a map, I will look at that after I've got lost 5 times in a row.
Right. Isn't that extraordinary?
And that way I get to know it, I understand it, because there's this recollection and familiarity with a flavour of how it works.
And you're putting it together like a jigsaw.
Otherwise my brain just leaves things behind, just forgets it. Like, I've done that bit, and then you've got no recollection of what it was or how. Things don't make sense to me in a linear way. So I need to collect them all up in a big bag. And in order to know what's in the bag, I have to have a familiarity with everything. And I think a lot of the time we feel like we've done something. A good example is you talked about hating certain things at school. Did you get any sort of, what was it, O levels in like any kind of science things or maths or anything like that?
On a recording, asking me if I got
Okay.
in sciences.
Oh.
Otherwise, I'm going to have to tell you.
No.
Because it was numbered in my. It was 1 to 6, and then 7, 8, and 9.
Okay.
When I took O levels, and I can't boast of anything very high. And
But the point is, you managed to pass exams, or some exams,
in
maybe.
French and English and Latin. And
Okay.
Spanish.
Did you pass anything that wasn't a language? Is my point.
Well, I didn't revise. For
Okay.
The history of geography,
Maybe
so
you're not a
that
good
was
example because of your extreme leaning towards languages and clear ability within that. So that's not.
Where are you
But
going with the...
okay, I used to I once when
Of course I did.
I once had a girlfriend who had managed to study really, really hard and get a high grade in her GCSE physics, who didn't know which way to turn the wheel of a car when she was reversing, right?
She just learned the syllabus.
She had learned this, or the stuff to parrot, which she hung onto in her brain for enough weeks
Yeah.
to then repeat it in an exam, and there's no comprehension there.
No.
And that's fine if you want to pass an exam. You know, I can understand that, and there's a certain value to being able to parrot stuff. It's not so much attacking that, but it becomes this normal way of processing information, of going, I can tick that off, I've read that, that's done, and actually you haven't processed it.
Yes.
And if you haven't processed it, you haven't enjoyed it.
I think I went riding instead of doing any
Right.
revision. I think that was the trouble. There were a few scrapes with grade 6s in some of those unnatural subjects, but
I'm kind of in favour of that kind of thing. But
I don't
but
think I was
but getting back to that way of reading books, it's my way of avoiding having information pass through my head and then not keeping it in a way that's then accessible and relatable, and especially when you're dealing with something like Proust.
So you mean like when you come across the passage when X, Y, and Z happens, you kind of already met that character before when you flip through, so it's
Yeah,
not
and the
too
concepts and the
visible.
ideas they represent are familiar and
Wouldn't occur to me.
So when you say you flick through, how much of that do you actually read?
Well, I'll read paragraphs.
Okay.
And in the process of...
But they won't make sense.
No, but they don't have to. They're decorations.
Okay.
Does that mean? Do you see what I mean?
Like you say, it doesn't make sense. I sort of get where he's coming from, because every story starts with a paragraph that has no meaning to you initially. So if you're just picking up a paragraph in the middle of the book, you're effectively starting the book, but in your way, it's mid.
Yes.
Exactly. And you could
starting at
you could level that criticism almost anything, couldn't you? That.
Yeah, and I think if there's any author who can do that, it probably is Proust.
Well, yeah, and I wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it with a murder mystery.
Well,
but a murder mystery, you don't have to, because it's not hard.
Yes.
You can read that in a linear way, but I wouldn't even bother.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wouldn't read that. So I'm sort of at that stage with it at the moment.
Yes.
I've been dipping in.
Yes.
But yeah, it's funny how much there's. I think a lot of works like that get lauded for their significance as pieces of philosophy or insight, and so much of it's so casual and conversational and just fun that I'm getting to I'm getting to know him.
For all those years thinking this is something really hallowed and high flown, and it'll be terribly difficult to get. And he's just an old gossip. It's hysterical. It's just hysterical. And the long sentences are just because he's giving us his thoughts. And then I saw Mrs. So-and-so round in the end of the corner of that road. You know, the road with the poplar trees. Well, we always used to go down, you know, in the spring when we do, you know, it just goes on. And it's exactly how we think. It's so funny. Or exactly how I think, but then maybe I don't think like normal people. But
yeah, so in a weird way, it almost kind of reminds me of Kerouac or William Burroughs.
Oh, heck.
But in a...
Kerouac, as in the American...
On the Road.
On the Road,
yeah.
Yes, I know that one. The other one, Burroughs, I know the name. What's he written?
Naked Lunch was probably his most famous one. But it's like stream of consciousness stuff. Yeah. But it's, you know, and they...
They're easy to read.
Well, William Burroughs is like the ramblings of a diseased mind, and it's kind of disturbing.
Kerouac's easy to read.
Yeah.
You just pick it up and it just goes.
Yeah, and yet there's this sense of significance to everything. Nothing's significant and everything's significant.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe beyond that.
Yeah.
I need to get my head into those sorts of flavours before...
I just thought it would be so hard, and it's so much easier than Zola, than Dickens, it's so much, it demands so much less concentration. He's just having a gossip or a rant about things, and it's so brilliant. It's just so brilliant. So
yes. Well, thank you so much for that. Anyway, it's a lovely thing to have.
I couldn't, because it's not published anymore with that, but that's the guy who you have to read as a translator.
I was going to say
to my mind, because there's a new modern translation. There's lots of translations, but there's a set number of translations. But that guy knew him, was very much in sympathy with him. Scott Moncrief. He was.
Yeah.
And everybody says, he writes in very sort of overblown prose. It's too flowery. You know, it's not. It really is not. It's just the most wonderful prose. And if you read the latest translation, where they farmed the 6 books out to 6 different renowned translators, the one it's just very stark and bold. And yes, it probably is a direct translation of the French. But Moncrief thought like Proust, and he was after his mind, and he knew him, and he in his own right, he's a fabulous writer. So it's just, and the very last volume, he died before he translated it. So that is a different guy who did it.
Okay.
But there is a guy of his era who did it, and it is really, really lovely prose. And I think that I think that you can hear Proust. It's much, by far and away, better than these new, very academic, dry, to my mind, translations. But they've got the most amazing write-ups in Penguin, and I'm sure the people who did them are very, very renowned and they're very accurate and probably more researched, but I think that's the one to get, and I found it, and there's because I've got a copy like that.
Okay.
And that one was I found it online, so.
Well, I feel all the more privileged to have that one then.
But you have to have that translation, otherwise I thought we'll only get the Penguin one, and that won't be any good at all, to my mind. So read it sometime.
Oh, I will. Well, no, I've been dipping into it, actually, kind of as bedtime reading,
Good, actually. Yeah.
because I can give it 20 minutes of dipping into it and then
Yeah.
fall asleep.
Yeah.
Um,
And the characters in it, I mean, you can just imagine them in France. And they're fantastic. Very good. Yeah. So what's your hobbies and things that you like to be into when you're not doing coffee or technical support?
I love all sorts of different genres of music and generally have things playing constantly and ranging from classical cello to heavy metal, screaming rock, and everything in between. It's just something that's just got to take my attention. Cooking is another one. I love cooking.
Oh yeah, I think we've talked about cooking before. Maybe it was when James painted you.
yeah, that's not a conversation I can really follow up with much, so we probably have a change of subject rather too quickly. You're a good cook, aren't you, Josie?
I cook, but I mean, I sort of just muddle along, really.
It's my way of, or it is my way of unpicking what the day has been, and so it could,
unwinding.
yeah, and if it was my ex always used to joke that it was she could tell what sort of a day I had by how long it spent in the kitchen, and if it was like a 15-20 minute throw in the oven thing, it was like it was a great day because it was easy. I didn't have to unpick anything. But if I then did, I don't know, 2-3 course meal of an evening and spent a really long time prepping things and cutting things properly, and
there's a lot of processing going on.
yeah. And so if it took a couple of hours with me in the kitchen, then it was a day that was a bit challenging and a bit tough.
Yeah. And a challenging, tough day would have been things in the shop that you can solve.
Yeah.
Or people being unreasonably stroppy. Or
That's things for shop, business management, the progression, how are you going to move to the next bit? I've got an idea, how am I going to put it together?
Yeah.
Problems that you just need to unpick and resolve and solve. And
yes. And that all takes time.
It does.
With the best will in the world, doesn't it? Because you're presumably managing your day and working at the same time as ticking over, how am I going to solve this problem about so-and-so?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And being a very small business, you wear all the different hats. So your finance, your HR, your management, your marketing, and trying to come up with ideas for all of them to drive the business forward, to make sure that people are seeing it.
But you will miss that. You'll probably end up with your, if you do manage to get your training thing off the ground, do it running out.
At some point, maybe, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a long-term goal, I think.
Yeah.
Short-term, I don't know. I do want to do something which is going to be a bit different, just to get my head out of where I currently am.
Yeah. Come up for air, really, from what you've been doing. That would be really good. Yeah. But I mean, is it likely to happen in Sherburn? Wouldn't you might have to go somewhere else?
Maybe. We'll just have to see. I've got no big ties around here other than like my family live relatively close.
Yeah.
I rent, so
but
that's not a problem.
it would be a shame if you want to stay here. So maybe you find something that you could do that met that needs as well.
I think the beauty with what I've done here is that I've got a lot of skill sets in lots of different avenues of being able to put information out to people from wherever you are. The internet and having website skills and social media, means that you can do pretty much whatever you want in that term.
You should be able to, shouldn't you? Really?
If you put together a training session that you could film and then give out to people, or people to pay for it. Yeah.
And it's more and more things are done like that, but you do need to know what you're doing, I guess, really. I was teaching son French on the phone today, and we were on WhatsApp video, and he's very he's probably watching. Hi, Charlie. He's very adept with, like you are with everything technological, and I was trying to show him the grammar page that I had on my book. So I turned the camera around so that he could see that, but then it kept jumping like this or like that, and then he was saying, "Oh, you know, don't worry, Mum, I'll look at it afterwards." But it was so frustrating because I just wanted to say, "Well, that's how it's spelled." So I ended up, I'm writing it down, putting the camera and turning it around, and I thought, it is silly, really. For an hour's worth of cracking how to do this, sort of muddling through each lesson with him, sort of spelling everything out in English, and then he's showing me what it is. And he's shared all sorts of document things with me, but at the moment he's sent it on email because he said, "You don't have to do that one. We can just do it." And he sent me something else, but I then couldn't open it for some reason. So I was saying, "I can't open it." He said, "What do you mean you can't open it?" And I said, "Well, I pressed on it, it won't open." So I've said, "Look, next time we have a lesson, it's 50 minutes French and 10 minutes IT, because otherwise it's going to do nothing to change, is it really?"
Do you miss teaching?
I miss the kids terribly. I miss my students terribly, really, really badly, really terribly.
Yeah.
Like James must miss them all when it's the holidays, all his classes, you see, all his people. I don't think.
So last week he was pining for them.
Pining. Yes, he would have been. No, I really do. I mean, I'm looking in the evening, although I probably moaned about it at the time. In the evening, I'm kind of looking for my pile of books tomorrow.
Oh, interesting.
Where are they then? So, what
and whereabouts did you teach?
Various different places in our travels. And
I suppose that's the beauty of being a sort of language teacher, is that no matter where you went, you would be able to
pretty much. And latterly in Taunton at King's College, which was just down the road from us, so we could just walk across the road and walk down the road in the morning and go to school. And that was good.
When did you stop teaching?
2012, so a little while ago. Yeah. So it just it's nice not to. It was very full on in boarding school, and I really enjoyed the time I had there. It was great. It was a great school, super. And then it was just time to leave.
You kind of knew that it was time, did you? Or?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I was not quite at the time, nearly at the time. It's then nice to do other stuff. I carried on teaching, taught yoga and qigong and stuff like that as well. So I carried on with my yoga classes for a bit until just before lockdown, actually. And I taught kids privately after school. So they, not from King's necessarily, but from anywhere locally. The after school kids who need to catch up for exams. So I had quite a few of those, which was fun. And I think I did something else part-time teaching. It all gets muddled up. I did carried on. Oh, evening classes. Yeah, I worked for the local, authority, and they had different level things that they did. So taught some of those classes. I really do miss the kids. But I don't miss being part of a structured school anymore, because then you've got to do it every day, but I might not want to. now. So.
I know, I totally get that. So being under your own steam is much easier than having that structure put in front of you, even though the structure's there for, you know, making sure that everything happens as it should do and on time and all this sort of stuff. But being able to do it at your own time, your own pace, your own.
So I did that quite a bit. I did. I thought I'd do. I looked into what other things I could do locally, sort of like teaching, or sort of affiliated to things I'd done, and I did the first 1, 2, 3 years, I think, of the counsellor qualification, but I didn't finish because they changed the 4th year to being a 2-year thing instead of a 1-year thing.
Which would have then taken you to 5 years and
2 more years. 2 more years, really?
how frustrating that they do it halfway through.
Yes,
like
I know.
you're doing the same.
I know. No, I think the thing was they found that people couldn't find the placement. They couldn't get enough placement hours for the requirements for qualification in the year because there weren't that many available.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, but if we make it 2 years, everybody will have a chance to do it. Well, that's fine if you're in your 20s or 30s or something like that. You don't mind, apart from the fact you've got to pay for the year, but you don't really mind another year of training. But I can tell you I wasn't going to do 2 years. And so I thought, I think I just want to paint. That's what I'm going to do. So that's what I did. Yeah. It's not as easy as he makes it look.
I'm not making it look easy today.
There's this thing when he starts off, with the jars of flowers, vases of flowers, and goes like that. It doesn't work for me.
It's interesting. I've started like initially, lines on a page. What are they, kind of thing? But after being here for as many weeks as I've now done it must be about a year now. I think.
Yes.
Isn't it? Close to.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I do start to see
where it's
an outline of, okay, that's going to be there, I can see that that's going to be there, and other times, no idea. It's just a depiction of what's going on in his mind at that moment.
Yeah. I mean, I did an oil painting course in Norfolk that another of James's ladies done, actually. Now, what's her name? I think she comes along, she's just moved to Susie, I think. She's just moved to Sherburn not very long ago. And she came to one of the classes that I was at with you. And she'd done the same course that I had done at Norfolk.
Right.
Oil painting course with Martin King. But when I did it was lockdown, so we just went over there for a few weekends. So that was quite interesting, learning about the mixing up all the except I've forgotten now. Chalk and the other stuff into it. Oh, what did they mix up into it?
Is it marble dust and calcium carbonate?
Da-da! It is. It is. Yes.
That stuff.
Yes. It's
Like,
a bit like his lead white. It's these warnings on the bag, isn't it?
well, this one just says dusty material, so
Yes. Yes.
it sounds like a 70s folk singer, doesn't it?
Yes.
That was fun because we did copied Caravaggios and things like that, and used some very shiny oil to make burnt plate oil to make it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's still wet, I think, and that's years ago that I did the painting.
Yes. That is one of the dangers of that stuff, isn't it?
It was great fun. Norfolk is a little way away.
It is. Oh, we've got messengers.
Yeah, we have Emma Muffs come on board and said, "Evening all, great to see Josie in person."
Oh, is that a lady called Emma? Hello, Emma.
Yeah. Well, we're not seeing you in person on here just yet, but I'm fighting my way, doing the hard yards.
Yeah, but I'm going like this.
Yeah. But that's.
I don't know how you do it with somebody who moves on.
Well, at the moment, I'm failing. But I'm failing so quickly
Fail. It doesn't matter.
that it's getting me closer and closer.
No, it's just I don't know how you do it when somebody's just moving around.
So, are you going to be entering, or have you already entered for the Sherborne Open?
No, I haven't. I've got a portrait that I did in January that I might put in. I have got a nude that I did on a course in February over 3 days, but I don't know about nudes in exhibitions. Whether you did have a nude in. You just had that chap who did that back view of that Eagle Sheep.
Why would you hesitate from doing it?
I just don't know whether you've got.
Are you imagining
going around and they don't want life drawings or something, because some
nonsense.
don't want life drawings.
No, I mean,
I can.
I think
that
there's.
It's a sort of
no. Okay, there's a kind of.
If it went up in a primary school, maybe.
No, but even in a primary school,
no.
no.
Why would they bother? The kids wouldn't bother.
Well, no.
It's some bossy person somewhere.
Okay, so you're imagining a person who would get annoyed by it, and then you're trying to pander to them. So not only does this person not even exist yet, but if they did exist, we would all want to tell them to shut up and wind their neck in.
You had that chap. In fact, I was really tempted to buy it. It was just the most lovely. He's probably still, but it was the back view of that guy. I posted when I posted on Instagram my favourite pictures. That was one of those. It was one of the favourite pictures.
Right.
Back view of it looked like an Egon Schiele style. Do you know what I mean? He was, you know what I mean. Anyway, I've got
a vague recollection.
Yeah, it was lovely actually.
Emma's enjoying the colour choices.
Well, I'm sort of doing a modified Zorn palette, in case she's interested.
Ooh. Can you explain that for us laymen?
Anders Zorn was a very highly regarded Swedish painter and contemporary of Whistler and Sargent and that sort of post-impressionist period. And he it came from one particular picture he did actually, that where there was a self-portrait in it as well as a sort of a figure in the background, and he was holding this palette, and on the palette were 4 colours: black, white, yellow ochre and cadmium red. And you can use that limited palette to make...
You can make a lot, can't you?
Well, I mean, you can... without getting too into it, you can represent all of the primaries in one way or another. Now, you've got no blue, but you've got a black, and you can use the black to represent blue. It's not very blue, but it's just blue enough compared to the others to be able to sort of make sense of. And so the Zorn palette is more about warm and cool than it is about particular sort of strong primaries. Or
I wonder if he got bored though. Do you think he sort of...
Oh, he used other colours.
And then he suddenly thought...
He used other colours, but having a limited palette is really useful because it allows you to, what would you say? Simplify what it is you're looking at. That you can't do all these sort of fiddly local colours. You've just got to adapt, and so you're pushing and pulling within this limited colour range. And in the process of doing that, you're thinking of other qualities of colour, like if it's warmer or cooler. If you can't go blue, then you won't be trying to mix the exact right blue because you can't mix it at all. Yes. You can just say, how much is the temperature difference? It's a bit like the tonal thing. If you need to be thinking, how much lighter or darker are these things? And you'll have experienced this as a portrait painter. And if Josie plays herself down, but is a very good portrait painter. Certainly good enough to teach other people.
There we go.
I've told you this before. Yeah. But you've solved all the main problems, and then it's just a matter of familiarity. There's nothing you haven't got right at least once, and that's all any of us can really hope for.
It's getting the eyes to be...
yeah, well, there's always something. I'm screwing loads up at the moment.
Convincing and things turning round right. And the forms on the nose, the little bits at the side of the nose that I find difficult to...
Difficult, but they're there.
They're there.
You know what you're paying attention to.
Yeah. And the perennial problem of the transitions.
Yeah.
You know where the cheek is red, but then you can't just suddenly make it red.
But you know the issue of when you've got one side of the face in light and one side in shadow, and you're in the shadow side and you're going, oh, that's lighter, and you end up with all these light colours in the shadow side, and you're in the light side and you're going, oh, that's darker, and then you've got bits on the light side that are darker than bits on the shadow side, and then it doesn't hold together. But if you looked at the whole thing, you went, well, all of that is light and all of that is dark by comparison.
And that's where you would start.
And that's why you sort of sort those things out early on.
Yes.
Is a good trick to do.
So you don't allow yourself to go lighter than X or
Yeah,
Y
exactly.
in the dark.
And so controlling the palette, and it's the same kind of thing with temperature. If you can control the temperature of colours, then the overall relationships will work. And it's a tricky one because sometimes a painting that has an immediate impact is not particularly interesting in the long run.
After a bit,
yeah. And something which might seem relatively uninteresting. Yeah.
So the portrait, I know workshops are a business set up, but so the portrait class, do you think that wouldn't come back? Have you done any sort of like gentle asking in your other classes?
Oh yeah, well no, I get asked about this stuff. I suppose I'm sort of torn between a few different things that I could do. One of which is a portrait class, but actually the shortcomings of doing that as a conventional class, one of which is by the time you've got the hang of it, the class is over. So you've got this model there and it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And by the time you sort of start to solve some of these problems, which are really just exercises, the session's over and then the model's gone. And, you know, so actually having a workshop where you've got the same model with the same lighting for 2 days, where you can dip in and out and you can sort of have some little rests and...
No, I do get that. I just thought people like Antonia and that chap who was quite interested, they might have been asking you.
I think people will come back for it.
But if, as you say, if that's the thing, that's not going to change because a weekly class wouldn't be long. It would be a morning or an afternoon, so that wouldn't be long enough. So maybe they would come like you said, if one day there's some way of doing it. Then it'll be, oh James, I can't come that weekend. That's when we're away or something.
Yeah.
What?
But if that's the other thing is that if I've got a setup which I can repeat, then then the next thing is I need to find the things that are that have got a longer waiting list. If you know what I mean, the sort of workshop I could fill twice.
Yes. I see what you mean.
And once I've found those, then everything else will follow.
So the preparations must be underway for the exhibitions.
Oh yeah, that's we've made a start on all of that. I'm not seeing my lights properly here.
Would it be helpful to have a wee break?
Yeah, probably would. Yeah, actually, I could do with that.
Grab a cup of tea.
Nice cup of tea.
Nice cup of tea. Right. We should be back in 5 minutes. Something along those lines.
He came in to say hello, didn't he? And he buggered off again. There you are. Okay. Come on.
Come and say hello.
Josie, do you mind if I just took the microphone off?
He does follow invitations.
That one, it needs to be recharged.
Yes, puss. Come on.
That's not an indication of how much you chatted.
Yes, I've worn it out.
Come on.
See, looking at the cat, just looking here, I mean at the cat, the light and shade is really marked. I mean, a white cat isn't a white cat.
And yet, look for where the darkest part of the image is. and it's much darker than the dark part of the cat. So where does the shadow side of the cat fit into the grand scheme of things? That's what the tonal stuff about, and that's why, you know, bits of fruit painted white is continuous. It seems so uncertain.
Yeah.
All of it could get taken away tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'd adapt and I'd be fine, and I'm very lucky, and it's not like it. None of it is how I don't want it to sound like a complaint, but it's a puzzle that sort of people want to have the experience of doing it because they recognise it as a part of their humanity, and that's becoming more and more relevant now, especially with the ideas
with
about
the horrible
AI.
AI.
But is it horrible? Think about all the previous technologies that have also been really useful.
Yeah, and also for like medical things, there probably will be quite.
And I think
Good
for a
things,
long
won't
time, technology has been having a gradual negative effect on our society. So, like, take, for example, the invention of the washing machine, right? Isn't it better to have, like, a machine, even just like a thing where you turn the handle, than having to walk down to the river
Yes.
and wash your clothes
Yes.
in the river and beat them against a rock?
Yes.
But the people that did that would mostly be women.
And they
And
knew
they-
all the lives of all the other
and they'd
women because
talk-
they talk all morning.
And they'd sing songs and they'd
Yes.
support each other and they'd do all these other things.
Yes.
And because of the technology, all of it was taken away. Whereas what would have been perfect would have been something like, this machine will wash all of your clothes except vests. Still got to take the vests to the river. And you'd have like,
It's not
you'd have 10 minutes of vest washing to do. It
Yes.
wouldn't be like this thing that took over your whole day that wrecked it, that was this enormous
Yes.
chore.
Yes.
But you'd still get to meet the other women.
Yes.
And so
It's true.
similarly with the jobs men did, like the idea that some of those tasks were, that men have done over the years,
Yeah.
like mining and stuff like that, just horrific. I mean, who wouldn't send a machine to dig coal now? Not that actually, it still haven't got a machine that can do it. Still need miners for that, but an awful lot of the suffering of humankind has happened down mines rather than on
Yeah.
battlefields. So there was this, but then they go, oh, we're closing the mines. But if you haven't got something to replace it, it just destroys a community.
Yes, I know.
Everyone's going, but what will we do if we can't go down a dark hole and get lung disease? And it seems like a bizarre thing to say, but ultimately that's, it's a really valid question because it's about those communities and how people cultivate an identity and pass that identity along and have a purpose and a use in the world and all
Yes.
that stuff. And AI is going to get rid of an awful lot of nothing as horrible as like mining sulfur or something, which the worst things human beings can be made to do. But like data entry, like, is anyone really proud of their data entry skills? Probably not. It's just a chore that needs doing, and if AI can do that, then all the better, right?
Yeah.
But when it starts to touch on things like things that are human, I don't know how I'd feel if I read a novel and someone revealed afterwards that it had been written by AI.
I know. I wondered.
And I at the moment,
similar thing. Actually.
I'm pretty certain I could tell. Whereas if I read a physics textbook and it was written by AI, I'd go, well, that's fine.
No.
I
looked up something yesterday. How to do something. I looked up something on the internet, and it explained it. I can't remember what it was. Very, very lucidly, and I thought, oh gosh, that was well written. And the thing at the end, I forget what it was. It was that thing that shows you
the
AI.
thing.
I think it just said AI.
Generated by AI.
And I thought, oh, I was really thinking, well, thank you for telling me that.
No, it's really useful if you want to know how to
that was a machine.
reprogram your television or something like that.
Yeah.
The idea that there'd be someone in a call centre somewhere bothering with that nonsense is an absolute waste of any human being's time.
Yeah.
So that thing about potential and how we and when we say, well, what is human potential? It's potential to create, the potential to
think of a new way of doing something.
Yeah, and to interact with other people and be supportive and make the world better. And I think AI is actually going to bring a lot more of that. Not by itself. AI isn't really going to do anything, but the existence of AI dealing with a lot of this stuff will really sort of show us where our humanity lies, I think, to a large extent. Whereas before we might not have been entirely aware of that. I think that's...
You mean by the contrast in that, that realising that we can't do without each other, you mean?
Yeah, well, and in terms of like, where is our humanity? It's not in... There's obvious places where it isn't. Hang on, I'm trying to do two things at once here.
Yeah, I think I'll stop asking you to.
No. This is really interesting.
I really enjoyed the conversation on AI.
So
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna finish my point since I'm thinking about it, but it is the thing of, if you're writing a book and you had AI to help you, it gives you structure and this, that, and the other. The humanity is in the idea behind the book.
Yes.
The idea that you want that book to exist. And even if you're so horribly dyslexic, for example, that you can't build a single sentence without there being a problem and you hitting a snag, and AI is helping you along the whole time, just like a spell check would help you, just like the Microsoft thing that points out your punctuation, just like an editor would help you. Now, editors have lots of different roles, but if you're an editor and all you're doing is correcting the grammar of one of your writers, you'd probably sack them as a writer, and you'd probably go, this is a waste of my time, I could be doing something more useful. And so in a sense, there's sort of, it gives everybody access to ways of expressing their ideas and their own humanity, and that how that plays out is going to be really interesting, because there's going to be an awful lot of rubbish. You'll be able to make a TV show. You're already getting them. I saw something the other day, I can't even remember what it was, sort of like the first 10 minutes of it, and I thought, this wasn't written by a person. This is like, we want to make another thing, especially animated things.
Yeah.
And we can have this, we can collect data on what people like to watch and how long they watch it for, and all of those sorts of things. And
Yes.
so an AI will write a script and it'll tell you when you need a car chase.
Gosh.
And the point is that once you've got as much of that as you want, we could have done without Jerry Bruckheimer. We could have done without most of what Hollywood turns out is just rubbish. But when someone comes up with a story that's really worth telling, that's going to be so much more meaningful.
Yeah, and hopefully people appreciate it though.
Exactly, and we'll be looking for that stuff. And suddenly, having the biggest budget or the most special effects will not be the thing that makes or breaks.
That would be good.
It will
be really good.
We will home in on where the humanity is, where we see ourselves.
Yeah.
But the majority of the budget in film creation is actually in the marketing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me at
getting
all.
something out there.
Huge, yeah. So all of the Marvel and comics and things like that that have been turned into films, they're not cheap to make, but they're not as expensive as what it what it's portrayed to be. It's the majority of that is marketing. Getting it on everything, on every billboard, and making you see it so that it makes you want to go to it.
But in a sense, that's everybody's problem, I suppose, who's making something or creating something. They have to get it seen or have to get people to know about it. Yeah. I always think David Hockney promotes himself quite successfully. He seems to promote himself, doesn't he?
Yes, he's rather good at that.
Yeah.
I like David Hockney.
I do. But I just think that it's.
I'm not a big
if
fan
other
of his
people
art.
did it as much as him, they'd also be a bit more known, perhaps. I don't know.
I don't know if they would.
No, maybe not. Maybe not.
I think.
But are you recognising him for his the fact that he's a good advertiser, or that he's good at something else?
Famous artist, just in case you're wondering.
But I was thinking he was. What I was thinking was, he's been quite clever at making sure people can see what he's doing and know what he's doing, and that's probably as much an art as anything else, really. Because I wouldn't think to do that or anything like that if I was him. I don't think. I'd just expect my art to speak for itself, and then if people like it, then that's great, and if they don't, well, that's also great. But he's pretty good at that, I think. I don't know. I don't know.
So what excites you about AI then, Graham?
Yeah, what's this?
I find it fascinating for how much it will sort of change the direction of where humanity is going. Because there's no plug you can pull on it. It's not going anywhere. We're all going to have to live with it. But we've been living with AI for longer than people think.
Yeah.
In lots of different avenues. It's just now it's much more easily accessible.
Yeah.
And along with a lot of other things that initially weren't as easily as accessible, that are now commonplace.
Yeah.
Mobile phones, I guess, is a prime example of that. Initially, they were big bricks that you're now taking around everywhere. Like everybody's got one in their back pocket.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be interesting how it's. I think it's unfortunate that it's come at a time when we're at a monetized society, where everything that you do needs to be monetized for it to have any form of value. Whereas I think AI has a value in itself for being AI. And it actually being a useful tool that people can use. But then there's, I think the line needs to be drawn by the individual that's using it as to where that line is in terms of creativity.
You mean limit yourself?
Yeah, people need to limit what they... So, for example, don't use it to create pieces of artwork. I mean, it's always going to be there. It's always going to create artwork. That was always going to be the next step of it.
Yeah.
But if you're an artist, you won't ever use it to create art.
No. Oh, they're exactly who use it.
But
I
think a lot of people use the Procreate. Use the.
Background removers. That's AI, because it knows where the background is.
Yeah.
And so, it's like I say, we've been using it for years. It's just come at a stage.
Yeah.
It's come at a stage now where it's so easily accessible and so cheap for people to start using it.
Yeah.
ChatGPT is free for it.
Yes, yeah, that's what my son keeps saying. Mum, you must go to ChatGPT. Don't even know what it is, so I've got to do that. He just tells me I've got to, so I'll have a lesson on it, I expect. Yeah. But, yeah.
And I personally, I think it's a good thing, used in the right context. But I guess you could say that about anything.
But I mean, an artist who maybe they've injured their hand or something, that program where you just have it holds the paintbrush.
This is a very interesting thing because you're conflating AI with just digital tools.
And it's not the same thing.
AI is when it does it by itself. It's
I
learned what to do.
I knew I got it something wrong.
No, this is very interesting because
most people do.
Well, no, because you're not particularly interested in it. So, and what AI, which I would absolutely defend.
So that wouldn't be artificial intelligence.
No,
then having a program which you can choose a paintbrush that's 3 millimeters
because you're
wide.
still telling it what to do.
Yes, I'm in control.
Whereas AI would be draw a picture of a cloud, and it would draw a cloud as to what it thinks a cloud would look like.
And it's got really, really good at it, which is the thing that's scary. It's got very good at it indeed, which is.
But this all must have happened like when the Impressionists were around and photography
Well,
got
this is
invented.
exactly it.
They must have got, oh my God, what am I going to do? They've taken a photo of a cloud and I paint it and they won't want my painting anymore.
I think about this a lot, and it's true because there's all sorts of things where there were lots of artists throughout history whose job was to record what things look like.
Yes.
And some of those things have survived. So it's interesting that botanical painting has survived.
Yeah.
Well, but I don't know what the equivalent was with like bugs and stuff. Maybe that's still going in some form. But yeah.
Yeah, because they were making a thing that was going to be a record, weren't they? They were like, the dandelion in all its...
exactly.
It was, all its,
it was a scientific record of what was happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then suddenly we didn't need anyone to do that anymore.
Yes.
We had microscopes and cameras, and that's if you want a picture of a flea now, you don't need Robert Hooke to do a giant etching with his microscope. You get a camera and and I'm sure Robert Hooke would have been on board with that as well. He's going, yeah, it took me bloody ages to do that. It was really annoying, but there would have been some pride in it. But he just, if he could have skipped that and just shown everyone what a flea looked like close up because that was interesting to him, then he would have done that. This is so interesting, this painting, because it's been so bad for so long. And then
worry. Something
somewhere is working now. And I still don't know why. I'm going to take the credit for it anyway. And go, yeah, I know what I'm doing. No idea how this works. I shifted things around, and then at some point it started looking like you, and I still don't know why.
But I went to a beautiful botanical exhibition at Kew Gardens a few years ago, and it was just amazing what these people do. And they were artists from all over the world, like Vanilla Pod and all exciting. They were just how they do it. Eyesight must be amazing.
Yeah, the beauty of it has allowed it to survive. Yet, no one's doing microscope pictures of amoebas anymore.
No.
So
that's true.
So there's this sort of so there's
that's
something
true.
in the botanical art that is human and expressive and meaningful in some way.
Yes, but why would a leaf and a oak leaf and that be more beautiful than a?
Because we have an affinity to them.
Dead octopus.
Well, maybe to some people something like an animal. Well, in a sense, still life started off as literally that, dead animals.
Yeah.
It was a thing that would have been alive but was now static. But the idea of sort of the scientific, science mostly moved over to a new improved technology like photography to represent the truth that it needed to record. But botanical art stuck around no longer for the scientists, but for but for its artistic value. And that's discovering where the humanity survives and other things. So, you know, if you went to a botanist now and they said, oh, we found this interesting leaf structure, and you go, you're going to draw us a picture of it? They go, no, I think I'll take a photo. That's all right.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, what skills are we keeping simply because the act of doing them? I've been talking to ceramicists about this. Ceramicists have been dealing with this for a long time. I suppose
so, because objects could be made.
Well, we've got mechanised processes that make all the ceramics we could possibly need.
Yeah. But it's not the same.
But and then there's another question, which is, do we want people around making things out of ceramics? Because it's nice to have those people around, you know. Do we want everyone to be someone who just operates a machine?
Exactly.
No, we want people who are engaged in this stuff to talk to us. You know, we want authors, even if we've got all the books we need, and no new books are ever going to be as good as the old books. Like, you know, we've got Shakespeare and Dickens, so that's it for writing. That's done. But we want writers in the world. We don't want all the writers to be dead. We want some living ones. So we sort of find a way to support that, and that's a human requirement rather than.
Well, your thatching job must have been. Don't you miss that? That must have been very satisfying to make a roof, and just to think, wow, did that out of natural materials, and.
Yeah,
I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, it is a wonderful job.
And you're keeping a lost art alive.
And that was a really lovely part of it, and also to be, as you say, using natural materials, and, using it as it was done hundreds of years ago. Winters are very cold here.
I was about to say, it's just as not on after a few years. I should think you've had enough of doing it, really.
Summers are equally as difficult.
I suppose so, because
you can't escape. There's
with heat.
You get up on a roof and there's no shade.
No.
Generally.
No.
And so that then becomes quite a struggle.
Yeah.
Has anyone messaged us to tell us it's got dark yet without me noticing?
No.
Okay, good.
How dare it? How dare it get dark? It's all sort of these permutations of all the lights that James has got, which is extraordinary. So you wouldn't do something like that again now, no?
No.
I would think it's a sort of something that for a few years is fun, but then.
Yeah, and it's tough.
Could you hold these, please?
Well.
And it existed because it had to be done. People had to have roofs, and that was what people put on them. And if you didn't have a roof, you were in trouble. So the suffering had to go on.
And what was really interesting with the job was that you're taking off the top layer of the thatch that's on there. There's a base coat, and that base coat has been on since the house was built.
Wow.
Wow.
And you keep that.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it. It hasn't been sort of.
No, because if the top layer has done its job, then the base coat won't get wet.
There's no sort of rodent or
occasionally
insect that mucks it up.
Occasionally, but if it's sort of as tightly packed in, and the base coats on a house can sometimes be a couple of feet thick. Yeah. And then you're putting on the exterior layer, which is again another.
But it must have taken ages to learn how to do it. It's almost like something that in the old days they'd have learnt it, and that would have been for life, wouldn't it?
So I started when I was 14, 15, and would work in the school holidays, and would do Monday to Friday of a half term. And then when it came to summer holidays, I would do I think it was either Monday to Thursday or Tuesday to Friday. So I always had a 3-day weekend within that, but it just meant I never had to have a weekend job, which was great. Yeah. The money that I'd earn would then go into the to the next holiday, so I could still live how I wanted to live, which was great fun. But it was, it's a long skill to learn, and the college that I went to for it was a 2 year, I can't remember which, 2-year course.
Wow.
But you're not up there all the time. You go up for weeks at a time, get assessed
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
things
yeah,
that
yeah.
you've learned, and you build up a portfolio of
Yeah.
all the work that you've done.
Yeah.
You have to do gable ends, you have to do dormer
Blimey.
windows, and how to do the patterning across the top,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
ridging, and loads of
Did you think you were going to do it like forever and ever when you took it on? No.
No, I always knew it was going to be for a short period of time.
Yes.
I say short, I still did it until I was 20.
Yeah. But nowadays,
23.
if people carried on doing it for years and years, I bet you they bad backs and bad this and
Bad backs, bad knees, bad
and skin cancer.
shoulders. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
Wow.
I think that's where a lot of my initial back problems came
Oh, really?
from.
Is that better now?
Yeah, mostly. I had to, I had a slip disc just before COVID, really, and I had to have surgery for it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I just heard the little whine of an electric car pulling up outside. I don't know whether he might ring on the door in a minute if he's coming round.
Yeah.
To come and sit and chat to us.
I'm
Gosh,
really
so, but that's better now?
Yes.
Or does it,
Yeah, majority.
it doesn't
so,
come
yeah.
out?
No.
just 'cause it
Occasionally I get tweaks, but there's nothing. It's nothing as near as bad as it was. I was in. I don't really remember 2019 because
But that's
I was taking
Painkillers.
painkiller-wise, yeah. I
Oh.
was on over 30 tablets a day, all opioid painkillers.
Those are the ones that you can be addicted to. Did you manage to get off them all right?
I decided to, as soon as the surgery was done, I decided to go completely.
Hi! Oh, it's
No,
not
that's
Bruce.
someone else.
Somebody, it's some of your rowdies that go up and down the Sherburn Road
Yeah,
every
yeah.
week. I was sure I heard his car pull up because it's it went. Might have been somebody else. He can come and sit up here and read his book. Yeah. So you and you got off them.
Yeah,
Without-
I decided to just go completely off them because then I wouldn't be able to differentiate what was the pain of coming off them as
Yes.
opposed to the pain of recovery from surgery.
But did you manage with paracetamol then or something?
And I didn't take anything.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. And then I could, but in a way, it was my brain. It was a way that I could tell my brain that it was the back surgery,
Yes.
not the fact that I
Yeah.
was kind of addicted.
I'd be really worried about getting addicted to.
Did you ever worry that it might have been because you were just malingering all along? That you were fine.
I certainly was not fine.
It's probably just making a big deal about nothing.
Which bit in the lumbar bit?
Yeah, I was in between L5 and L4, and it's mostly due to the fact that I have quite a
Mobile
stupid,
back,
but no, I've got a
hypermobile.
very narrow channel that
Oh,
takes the
the
nerves
cord,
and the
right.
the cords. So
Blimey.
any small bulge for me would cause that much of a problem. Whereas if you had the same sort of bulge that had
Yeah.
happened on my back, it might not be the same because of my
Yeah,
narrow.
I didn't
spinal
realise
canal.
how individual it all was.
So yeah, they went in. I've got a scar that's only about a couple of inches big.
It's not nice to have a back operation, is
yeah.
it?
Oh, yeah, that scares me.
That would be horrible.
It wasn't very pleasant, but it was only weirdly as well, or amazingly, day surgery.
Blimey.
So-
It is actually amazing what they do in a day now, isn't it?
In the morning was the
Yeah.
first surgery of the day, and I went
Yeah.
home that night. It was incredible.
Blimey. Bruce came out in a day and he had a thing in the back of his neck where, I don't know, it wasn't a disc thing, it was, it's crumbling spine
Oh,
or
gosh,
something
yeah.
was crumbling. And if they'd left it, he would be paralysed because it would crumble onto onto the cord or something. And the osteopath who he saw told him, sort of said, oh, I've watched that operation loads of times. It's a really good operation. They put a thing called a box on the bone or something to hold it back to hold it back where it should be. And he said they go in through your throat or something. So it's a really good operation. And, and so he then got brave enough when the doctor said, yes, actually you have got a crumbling spine. But you'll probably be all right. But, and then he said, well, actually, I am quite brave. I'll have the operation. And I thought, oh, he'd be in for a week, same day with paracetamol, sent home with paracetamol. I thought, blimey, this is going to be terrible. He's going to be, but there's clearly, it's a really good operation.
Oh, yeah, it's phenomenal what they can do.
He was, back, and I suppose there were a few weeks of taking the paracetamol, but then, okay.
Two
Isn't
and a
that
half
amazing?
weeks.
I've sort
and
of
I was back
forgotten
at work.
about it now, yeah.
Yeah. But I got told in the evening though when the consultant does the rounds just before you go, he reckoned that I had about 2 to 2.5 weeks before there was a build-up of sort of bloods and fluids that couldn't pass where this bulge had happened.
Yep.
And he reckoned another sort of 2 to 2.5 weeks, and if that had popped, then I would have been paralysed.
Sobering.
It does. Why tell someone a thing like that? I mean,
it's because the surgery went on for about 3 times longer than it should have done.
Oh,
so
right.
To clear it out, and he needed to explain to my other half at the time why. Because nobody
No
told
more
her initially.
thatching.
Say again?
No more thatching.
No more thatching. No more thatching.
nearly done.
It has really come together in like 10 minutes.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
It's a magician.
Sometimes it's hard to trust the process, but it's the only thing that's ever going to work. If I start to interfere with it and go, well, I'm not sure the process is working, I better change this, that's when it's all going to go wrong.
And the processes, the darks and the lights, the cools and the warms,
Yeah.
the shapes,
And
the
well,
angles.
the
Hang on,
drawings are
what
required,
else did we have? We had shapes, we had angles, we had the tone, obviously. But there wasn't any of this measuring. You didn't do any of that measuring.
Well, I'm doing it in my head.
Yeah, I've forgotten what the other one was we did.
So I absolutely am measuring, just in case you're wondering.
Yeah. It's all going on in the internal computer.
Yeah. And you get all these things happening at once in the same way as you might read a novel by Proust. It's become a way of behaving. I don't think I'm going to do any more to this. There's eye detail, which I haven't done, which it doesn't need, because your eyes are in shadow and they're behind your glasses, and the mouth does most of it.
I'm just going to see whether...
And your head turn does most of it, and I had to change my mind about that in the meantime.
Notifications. Let me just see if this says I'm parked outside. I don't think he is parked outside, otherwise he would have... Bev's Tai Chi group. Nope, it's not him. Okay. Well, we haven't got a shout.
It's really interesting because you've managed to catch the movement.
Yeah. Now, what I will do is
She
put the
moved.
filter on.
No. He hasn't said anything yet. He's
And,
very patient.
Yeah, it's got some movement in there.
So will your successor have the paintings put up?
Also, yeah.
You've said, look, you can take over,
Well,
but
you
you've
know
got to
Alex
do
anyway,
things
yeah.
the same.
So
I think Alex has been painted, hasn't he?
He has.
yeah.
Yeah,
When he had
before
a pink
you.
moustache,
That's right.
which he did
In the
because
pink.
he raised over £1,000, I think, for
He did.
November.
Wow.
Which was
Alex
really
in the
good.
pink, wasn't it? That
Yes,
was the one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been painting before? Have you sat before
Not for James.
for other people?
I had unwittingly, I was painted by somebody who James knows about this. I was on a course, and it was a self-portrait course, and the teacher said, go and take a photo of yourself. So without doing my hair, doing anything putting something nice on, I just went out into the garden because it was light and went click with a face like that, and came back in and then carried on with the lesson. It was a one-to-one, and unbeknown to me, he was working from that photograph as well.
Oh,
So yeah. And actually, for some reason, it was locked down, so I suppose he might have been a bit bored. carried on and finished it. And I mean, it was a superb painting, and he's an amazing artist.
I think it's brilliant as well that you didn't do the whole kind of, I'm going to pose, I'm going to make sure it's the right light or anything. You just went outside.
Yeah,
I'm not
and that's
sure.
why it would have been interesting as well. Yeah, I mean, it's not that is a problem I have to put up with anymore, but if I know it's I mean, it might well happen again one day. I've had people come for portraits, and usually when it's a family member, so.
Yeah.
I had a young lady once whose grandparents had decided they'd quite like a portrait of her.
Oh, that's lovely.
And she turned up and she'd already painted a new face over her own face before she even got there.
Oh.
So I had to sort of try and
bought a new outfit
decode
and
that, and was really concerned about whether I'd get her hair right because she spent ages doing it. And she sort of was a beautician and stuff. That was part of what she did.
Yeah, that's quite
And
tricky.
obviously, especially as a young woman, there's a whole world of pressures about your appearance that I couldn't possibly begin to understand. But I get that they're there. And,
now you've got sisters, haven't you? Or
I've got a sister, yeah.
So
but
you
she
kind of
doesn't
do
take
understand
any care
this.
over appearance at all, so I don't really think about
She
that.
gets on with
And
things.
I come from a family of rather strong-minded women that aren't bothered about impressing anybody.
That's
so-
good.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. It's the only thing I respect now, really. So. But I think that's part of the reason I quite like teaching, is because art is not the hierarchical university sort of organisation. What would you call it? You know, like that world of art where it's societies and this, that, and the other. Obviously, that's all run by men because men need to be very important, and historically, you know, there's more women involved. Yeah. But art's always been done by women and older women generally, and I think that's the reason. I think there's a special kind of wisdom that is entrusted to older women.
Yeah, we're all like the wise witches, aren't we?
Well, there is the thing. You know, that's you know. Imagine if Macbeth.
He appreciates all these old ladies who come to his classes.
Well, the thing is, they are the best artists.
Well, naturellement.
Yeah, it's just, and I would say that, and I would defend it, and I get quite annoyed when someone goes, "Oh, it's just little old ladies, isn't it?"
So you
go,
quite
any idea, like, you know,
you with the classes, then you don't mind that
I'm among.
It's not young
my
sort of students
people.
who are. Well, they haven't got the time or the money or the inclination, probably. And
What?
so you get us lot. You get us sort of.
The thing is, they're the people who are making the time to do it because they appreciate why it's worth existing. What I don't get at my classes, which some other people do cater for, is the hobbyist. It's a bit of fun. Let's sort of join in with it and you know, have a nice coffee morning kind of approach. That's not who's coming. Everybody who comes along is serious and demanding of themselves, and that's the only thing I cater for. Yeah. And the people who want to have a nice coffee morning don't keep coming to me.
Yeah, it's a different kind of creativity. It's probably just as valid. I mean, it's just as valid if that's what one wants to do. But as you say, it's just
absolutely. It's it's a great thing to do for entertainment.
Yeah, and maybe they just want to express.
But that's not
what they are. They don't want to go on and learn something else.
But the thing is, the way art exists is that you can't win at it. It doesn't follow a hierarchical structure. So for everything you do well, you're doing something else badly. So there's no best artist. And also that's not what it's for. It's not about.
But there still should be more guys coming along.
Yeah, but there's no. Well, there a lot of men who take it up when they're older do it in private.
And a lot of men who take it up when they're older have also been architects or something and are amazing.
But they don't want to show it to people until they can be proud of it, because
the guy Richard that comes in, who you've chatted to a couple of times.
Yes.
Bigger
Oh, he's one of those, definitely.
Like you say, oh, they used to be architects, or he used to design oil rigs.
Right.
So he's got that.
Yeah, design mind,
Yeah.
probably 3D sort of thing. Wow.
But it holds you back from expressing yourself, because there's this thing that I think a lot of men have, which is, I have it too, and women have it too, but it's sort of it's the need to be seen to be competent.
Yeah.
There's exceptions to it. And there's places where I think human beings are at their healthiest when they've got a space where that doesn't apply. So,
Yeah, I agree.
if you're going to play a sport, find a place where you can be really bad at it and laugh when you fall over, not a place where you're going to be humiliated and everyone's going to recriminate you. But if you want to do it really well, that's where you're going to be. I was playing a lot of rugby. I wasn't playing at a high level, but I ended up playing at a level where if you drop the ball, everyone would have a go at you because you don't drop the ball, But I quite like the idea of playing in a way where you absolutely can drop the ball and it doesn't matter, which I did. So that gives you an idea.
Yeah.
But that thing of art doesn't work that way. Art, you have to drop the ball. If you're not dropping the ball, you're not doing it right.
You're not learning.
Because you're not
really.
figuring out different ways of catching the ball. You're not understanding. You've solved a problem and then you do it that way every time, and you train.
I think it's really
this
hard. It's really, really hard.
But the real value of art, the skills involved is one thing, but the value of doing it is somewhere else, and that is in having something to express and engaging with that sort of poetic part of ourselves, and that's something that was always done best by Grandma. That's who you want to sit down with you and paint a picture with, because she's going to like whatever you do, but she's also going to encourage you. She's also going to push you forward. She's also going to ask you the right questions and be interested in what you say in response. There's this understanding of this human interaction that's contained with that. And that's where art lives. And because older women aren't going around looking for accolades and seeking respect, they've done their bit.
But the real creative, like
they've
Picasso
seen it all, and they're immune to
young
pain.
males, aren't they? A lot of the
they're vying. They're trying to create something new. They're trying to push boundaries. They're vying for status.
They're also very good at what they do.
But that's the thing. So you're forced into being good, and that's the thing that pushes you along. But all it does is give you skills.
Yeah.
The other thing comes from somewhere else. And I bet Picasso's granny was really encouraging.
She probably was.
So yeah. I'm done.
Wow. So I can have a look.
You can. I'm probably. I say I'm done. I'm probably still going to fiddle with it a bit, but I'm going to sign it.
You're going to have less. You're going to have to be. You can't just do a whole year of helping him with that and just learning all the painting.
I do need to have a go.
Yeah, you do. You do. So I don't know how you manage with the changing light. Oh my goodness, how do you do it? There's me mid-speech.
Yeah.
You're so clever. Oh, so that palette was what you've got there. You're so clever.
I dipped into other colours as well. I'm
so
seeing all sorts
clever.
of things wrong with it now.
Oh, no, you're not. Look, I must just see if Brucey's outside. I thought I heard a car. Whoops, I've just trodden on a vital bit of your wire
It
there.
won't be anything important.
I knew he was. I knew that little whining sound was his car drawing up. I'll give him a text and he can come and see his...
Oh, subtleties.
But what am I saying to him there?
But it's the movement, isn't it? You're not sat staring into.
He does
solemnly
get
into
people
a position.
moving. Like the chap that you did, who was the chap who'd had a stroke at some point in time. You did him amazingly.
Alexander. Yeah, and his story, he didn't stop talking the whole time.
Yes, he didn't, and he moved a hell of a lot.
He moved all the time.
Yeah.
So
he
there
was
was,
moving his hand. He was going.
but there's a compromise.
Putting his hands on his-
So there's a point. I got to a point where if someone sits still, I can create a facsimile of their face.
Yes, that's what I aspire to
Like
at the moment.
and once you get to the passport photo level,
Yeah.
then what do you do? The only thing
I
you can
don't
do
know.
is make it worse.
Go to James and ask.
But
what
if you make it
think.
worse, if you make
Look
it
at the
more
light
interesting,
he's got on it. It's amazing. Look at the light on my hair. I do look a little bit cross, but not too cross. Don't I? Like I'm telling him off. You know, do you really think that?
no, you look
Let me just
interested.
tell Brucey to come. I'll tell him to come up.
Shall I go and
He might.
we can get his reaction before I switch the camera off.
Yes. Oh, minute. Oh, well, he's going down the stairs. Why am I worrying to think about how to communicate with him? So, yeah, yes, no, you must. You must get. You're tall, aren't you? You must get, you know, him to let you mess about with it and do stuff. I can't believe you haven't done it with him yet.
Finished? I think he's managed to capture, I think, a bit of a
Yeah.
teacher look.
Do you know, I think I am telling him off. I'm saying, now, have you done your homework?
Because there's a look of surprise. I think the neck he's done is slightly kind of almost.
And that
abrupt,
was funny
but
because
he's looking
Josie
down
ended up
and going,
interviewing Graham.
"Really?"
He's,
No,
he
I'm
keeps
leaning
trying
over
to
child saying,
do the
"No,
Michael
look, you've got
Parkinson
this
thing.
wrong."
He's not very good at it. So.
You've not done this.
There you are. You
I don't know what
you
he's gonna
we
say.
can get your reaction
You haven't,
and
you
ask
haven't
what
met
you
Graham.
think.
Brucey, Graham.
Or to do a reveal.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wow.
Do you recognise her?
No.
I'm telling you off for not doing it. I'm saying, Bruce, have you done this? Have you done that?
Oh, no, I think you look friendly.
No. Isn't he clever? How does he do it?
I know.
I didn't stop moving because I sat there looking at James's self-portrait over there, and I said, "Right, I'm looking at your nose. I'm going to sit in this position all the time. Is that all
If you
right?"
think it could be serious, ask me to call emergency services
Oh,
or someone you
bloody hell! You
trust.
see what I mean? Technology. What do I do about that?
You look okay.
What do I do about that? I don't. It won't
No.
cause something, will it? Should I take it
Don't
off
think
so
so.
it doesn't connect to something?
Has your heart stopped? Or are you okay?
God's sake! I nearly didn't wear that.
So it's what your painting does.
I nearly
James.
didn't wear
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's what your painting does. Isn't he
I like the
clever?
colours.
Isn't it lovely colours?
Yeah.
Really, really lovely. Yeah,
Well, you started it with the scarf, and after that,
yeah,
that's what it had to be. So.
yeah. Well, I knew it wanted to be blue, so. Oh, it's amazing, James. I
Oh.
don't know how you do it, really.
Well,
I'm
I'm glad
definitely
you like it.
telling him something.
I always worry with portraits. You can.
I didn't look at it halfway through.
No?
No, I
No,
didn't
you
look.
did very well
I
actually.
didn't
Did not.
look. I didn't look. Yeah, that's great. Are we still on the thing? I can see the little green
Yeah, we
thing.
are still. Yeah, we're still live.
You've
So
got
Yeah,
just with
Bruce's
talking.
reaction.
yeah.
Yeah.
So no, it's,
I think we
it's
can wind it
it's
up
really
now.
good. Very, 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 very clever. Amazing. The best thing of all is I just
So, say goodbye to my viewer.
because
And
James
sit in
said
the
no,
chair for a
relax.
second.
You know, I was like that. You see.
Nice to see you working from life. You did it justice. Very beautiful.
Oh,
Oh yes, well done,
it
James.
was,
It's
it was lovely
brilliant.
to have little comments.
Brilliant.
Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. We should be back again next week.
See you next time.